My irresponsible sister announced that she was pregnant for the 7th time. I was fed up with raising her kids for her, so I left. But she and my parents called the police to arrest me. And this is what happened. I was folding Emma's school uniform when my sister called to tell me she was pregnant again. 7th time. I didn't say congratulations. I didn't say anything at all for a long moment. Just stood there with my niece's blue polo shirt pressed against my chest, the phone hot against my ear, listening to Melissa's voice. That particular brightness she always got when she was about to ask me for something she already knew I'd give. "I know what you're thinking," she said. I wanted to tell her she didn't. That she'd never known what I was thinking. Not really. Not in all the years I'd been raising her children while she collected new ones like commemorative plates. But I didn't say that either. "When are you due?" I asked instead. "October. It's early still. I haven't even told Mom and Dad yet. I wanted you to be the first to know. First to know. First to rearrange my life. First to clear space in the small house I'd bought with money I'd saved by not having children of my own. Not traveling, not doing anything except being available whenever Melissa decided motherhood was too hard or too boring or too whatever excuse she'd invented that week." Emma appeared in the doorway of the laundry room, backpack already on, even though we had 20 minutes before we needed to leave. She was 10, punctual, responsible, worried about being late to everything because she'd spent her whole life watching adults fail to show up. "Is that Mom?" she asked. I nodded. Emma's face did something complicated. Hope and resignation fighting for territory in her expression. She was the second oldest of Melissa's children. The first, Jackson, was 13 and lived with me full-time now, had for 2 years. The others rotated through like seasonal guests. Noah was 8 and came on weekends because Melissa's current boyfriend didn't like the energy of having an older kid around. Sophia was 6 and stayed with our parents most of the time because she had asthma, and Melissa said the cats in her apartment made it worse. Then there were the twins, Aiden and Lily, who were 3 and had been staying with me for 6 months because Melissa was getting her life together. I was 34 years old, and I had 5 children who called me Aunt Rachel, but looked to me for everything parents were supposed to provide. "Tell her I got an A on my science project," Emma said. I relayed the information. Melissa made an excited sound. "That's wonderful, baby," she said, loud enough for Emma to hear. "I knew you would. You're so smart." Emma smiled a little, just enough to break my heart. "Listen," Melissa said, her voice dropping to something more intimate, more needful. "I'm going to need some help these first few months. You know how sick I get in the first trimester. And Marcus was the boyfriend, a 30-year-old who worked part-time at a vape shop and played in a band that had 3 different names depending on which member you asked. He's supportive, but he's got the tour coming up in a few weeks, and I can't do this alone, Rach. Not this time. Not with everything else. Everything else. The 5 children she already had. The children I'd been parenting since I was 21, and she was 19, and came home from the hospital with Jackson, looked at him like he was a puzzle she didn't have instructions for, and handed him to me before going out with friends. It had been supposed to be temporary. 13 years later, I understood that Melissa's temporary was my forever. "I need to think about it," I said. Silence on the other end, real silence, not the performative kind she usually deployed when she wanted me to fill the space with agreement. "Think about what?" "About how much help I can give you this time." "This time?" Her voice went sharp. "Rachel, these are your nieces and nephews. They're family. You don't think about helping family." Emma was still watching me. I turned away, walked into the kitchen where the twins were eating cereal at the table I'd bought at IKEA, and assembled myself because there was no one else to do it. "I've been helping for 13 years, I said quietly. "I have 5 of your children living in my house right now, Melissa. 5. I'm not married. I don't have kids of my own. I work full-time and I come home and make dinner and help with homework and go to parent-teacher conferences and stay up all night when someone has a fever. I do all of it, and you keep making more. So this is about judgment." Her voice cracked in the exact way it always did when she was about to cry. That specific frequency designed to make me feel guilty for having boundaries. "You're judging me for being pregnant." "I'm not judging you. I'm telling you, I don't know if I can keep doing this." "Jesus, Rachel, I call you with good news, and you make it all about you." Good news, a 7th child she wouldn't raise. Good news. Lily dropped her spoon and it clattered against the bowl, milk splashing. She looked at me with wide eyes, waiting to see if I'd be upset. I never was. I cleaned up the spill, kissed the top of her head, told her it was okay. When I put the phone back to my ear, Melissa was crying for real now. "I can't believe you're being like this," she sobbed. "After everything Mom and Dad did for us, I thought you'd understand about being there for family. I thought you of all people would get it. Everything Mom and Dad did for us." She meant the years after Dad lost his job and we lived in that cramped apartment, the times Mom worked double shifts and we ate a lot of pasta and learned to be quiet about wanting things. I remembered those years differently than Melissa did. I remembered being 11 and learning to cook because someone had to. Being 13 and watching Melissa while Mom worked, making sure she did her homework, walked her to school, kept her safe. I remembered parenting before I knew that's what I was doing. Maybe that's why Melissa thought this was normal, because I'd been practicing my whole life. "I have to take Emma to school," I said. "We'll talk later." I hung up before she could respond. Emma was still standing in the doorway, backpack on, ready to go, always ready. She looked at me the way children look at adults when they're trying to understand things that don't make sense, when they're trying to figure out how the world works by watching the people who are supposed to know. "Is Mom okay?" she asked. "She's fine, she's excited." "About the baby?" News traveled fast, even through silences. Or maybe Emma was just good at reading the spaces between words. The oldest children always were. "Yeah, about the baby." Emma nodded. She didn't look excited. She looked tired. We were both so tired. I'd told myself I would think about it, really think about what I could and couldn't do, but thinking required time and quiet and space. And I had none of those things. The days happened to me. I got up at 5:30 to pack lunches and make breakfast and sign permission slips and find missing library books. I worked 8 hours at the insurance company where I processed claims and smiled at people who were angry about deductibles and coverage limits. I came home and made dinner and supervised homework and gave baths and read stories and tucked in small bodies and cleaned the kitchen and did laundry and fell into bed exhausted, only to wake up at 2 in the morning because Lily had a nightmare, or Noah wet the bed, or Jackson was texting me from his room about something that happened at school that he couldn't talk about during the day when the other kids might hear. I loved them. That was the worst part. I loved them so completely that sometimes I forgot they weren't mine. Forgot that I'd never chosen this. That there was a version of my life where I traveled and dated and had lazy Sunday mornings and made decisions based on what I wanted instead of what 5 children needed. Melissa called every day that week. I didn't answer. She texted, "We need to talk about this like adults. You're being childish. Mom says you're not returning her calls either, Mom." Of course she told Mom. My parents lived 20 minutes away in the house I'd grown up in, the one they'd bought after Dad got the better job, after things got easier. Melissa visited them every Sunday for dinner. Just her, never the kids unless I brought them. She'd sit at the table where we used to do homework and eat Mom's pot roast, and talk about her life like it was a series of things that happened to her, rather than choices she made. Mom called Friday night while I was helping Jackson with algebra. I let it go to voicemail. She called again an hour later, and again after that. At 10 p.m., after all the kids were in bed, I listened to the messages. "Rachel, honey, your sister is very upset. I don't know what you said to her, but she's been crying all week. She needs you right now. This is an important time in her life and she needs her family. Call me back." Second message. "Rachel, this is getting ridiculous. Melissa told me you basically said you won't help with the baby. That's not who you are. That's not how we raised you. Whatever is going on, you need to work it out. Family is everything." Third message. "Your father wants to talk to you. Call us this weekend. We're having dinner Sunday and we expect you to be there. Expect, not invite. Expect." I sat on my couch in the dark living room of the house I'd bought to have enough space for children I never planned to have. And I felt something break. Not dramatically, not like glass shattering, more like ice cracking, the kind you don't hear, the kind that happens slowly under pressure until one day you step on what looks like solid ground and fall through. Sunday dinner had been a tradition since I was a kid. After the hard years ended, after Dad got the promotion and things stabilized, Sunday became sacred. Mom cooked, Dad presided, and we gathered. When Melissa got pregnant with Jackson, she brought him. When Emma came along, she brought both, then Noah, then Sophia, then the twins. Except she didn't bring them. I did. She'd show up an hour late, empty-handed, and complain about how hard her week had been, while I kept the kids from destroying Mom's tchotchkes and made sure they ate vegetables and asked them about school. She'd leave before dessert, citing exhaustion or plans with friends or Marcus's band practice. And I'd stay to help clean up and pack all 5 kids back into my car and drive them to the house where we'd repeat this routine again next week. This Sunday, I went alone. I left Jackson in charge, gave him my credit card for pizza, told him to call if anything happened. He looked relieved. He'd stopped wanting to go to Grandma and Grandpa's house around the same time he realized they never asked about him specifically, only about the kids as a collective entity, a set of obligations rather than individual people. Mom opened the door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Where are the children?" she asked. "At home. I needed to talk to you and Dad without them." Her smile faltered. "Melissa's in the kitchen helping with the salad." Of course she was. Melissa, who hadn't cooked a meal in her own home in weeks, but could show up here and play helpful daughter. Dad was in the living room watching golf. He looked up when I came in, gave me the same nod he'd been giving me since I was a kid. The one that meant he'd registered my presence, but didn't require conversation. "Rachel's here," Mom announced. "Without the kids." Melissa emerged from the kitchen wearing a new dress, her hand resting on her still flat stomach in that universal gesture of early pregnancy. She looked hurt and fragile and beautiful in the way she'd always been beautiful, effortlessly, without trying, the kind of beauty that made people want to protect her from things she'd done to herself. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." Mom looked between us like we were children about to fight over a toy, and she was deciding whose turn it was. "Well," she said brightly, "dinner's almost ready. Melissa was just telling us about the baby, October, another autumn baby, just like Noah." "Rachel doesn't think I should have it," Melissa said quietly. "I never said that." "You said you couldn't help me. What else am I supposed to think?" Mom's face did something complicated. Dad turned up the volume on the golf. "Maybe we should sit down," Mom suggested. We sat at the dining room table that had been the site of 1,000 family dinners, 1,000 small negotiations and disappointments, and moments of pretending things were fine. Mom brought out the pot roast. Melissa served salad. I sat with my hands in my lap and felt like I was watching all of this from very far away. "Your sister is going through a difficult time," Mom began, using her mediator voice, the one she'd developed during our teenage years when Melissa would come home past curfew and I'd be waiting up, furious and terrified. "Pregnancy is hard, especially when you already have children to care for. She needs support." "She has 5 children she doesn't care for," I said. "I care for them." "You help care for them," Mom corrected. "We all help. That's what family does." "No." The word came out harder than I'd intended. "No, that's what I do. I don't help, Mom. I parent. I've been parenting Melissa's children since Jackson was born, full-time. I'm not the fun aunt who babysits on weekends. I'm their mother in every way except legally." "That's not fair," Melissa whispered. "What's not fair?" "Acting like I'm some deadbeat who abandoned her kids. I see them. I love them." "When? When do you see them? Emma's been living with me for 3 years, and you've taken her for a weekend twice." "Twice, Melissa. The twins have been with me for 6 months, and you visit maybe once a week for an hour. You had dinner with Jackson on his birthday, and left before cake because Marcus wanted to go to some concert. I have a life too. I'm not just a mother, but you are a mother. You have 5 children, 6 soon. That's not something that happens to you. It's something you choose, over and over, and every time you choose it, I'm the one who lives with the consequences." Melissa's eyes filled with tears. "I can't believe you're saying this. I can't believe my own sister is attacking me for being pregnant. I'm not attacking you for being pregnant. I'm telling you I can't keep doing this." "Doing what? Being an aunt? Being part of this family?" "Being a parent to children I didn't have." The silence after that was enormous. Dad cleared his throat. "Rachel, that's enough." "Is it? Is it enough? Because I've been doing this for 13 years, and I'm just now saying something, so maybe it's not enough. Maybe I should have said something when I was 21 and gave up college because someone needed to watch Jackson while Melissa finished high school. Maybe I should have said something when I was 26 and bought a house with bedrooms for kids I didn't plan to have. Maybe I should have said something every single time Melissa got pregnant and I knew I'd be the one raising that child. We didn't ask you to give up college, Mom said, but her voice was weak. You didn't have to ask. Someone had to do it, and Melissa sure as hell wasn't going to, and you and Dad were working all the time, and I did it. I did all of it. And I kept doing it because I loved Jackson, and then Emma, and then all of them. And because I thought if I just helped enough, Melissa would eventually figure it out. She'd grow up, she'd become a mother to her own children. She's trying, Mom said. You don't see how hard she tries. What does she try? What exactly does she do that constitutes trying? Mom looked at Melissa, who was crying into her napkin. She's working on herself, Mom said. She's in therapy now. She's trying to be better. She's been in therapy on and off for 10 years. She's always trying to be better. But her children are still living in my house. I'm still the one who goes to parent-teacher conferences and fills out medical forms and sits in the ER when someone has a fever. I'm still the one who holds them when they cry about why Mommy doesn't want them. That's not fair, Melissa started. They say that. Emma asked me last month why you don't want her. She's 10 years old, and she thinks there's something wrong with her because her mother keeps having more babies, but can't take care of the ones she already has. Melissa stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. I do want her. I want all of them. Just because I'm not perfect, just because I need help sometimes. Sometimes, Melissa, I have had custody of your children for years. Not sometimes. Always, constantly, every single day. Well, maybe that's because you take them. Maybe if you didn't swoop in and act like you're such a better mother than me, I'd actually have a chance to be with my own kids. The absurdity of that statement hung in the air. Are you serious right now? I asked. You think I take them? You drop them off. You call me crying about how hard it is and how you just need a break, and I say okay because what else am I going to say? Let them go into foster care? Let them live with a mother who can't remember to feed them? Who leaves them alone while she goes out? Who brings home men they don't know and expects them to call him dad after 2 weeks? That was one time. It was 3 times. 3 different men you told them to call dad. Jackson still has nightmares about Kyle. Remember Kyle? The one who locked him in the closet for talking back? The one I found out about because Jackson showed up at my door at midnight because he didn't feel safe, and you were too drunk to notice he'd left? Dad stood up. That's enough. Both of you? But it wasn't enough. It was 13 years of not enough. I'm not doing this anymore, I said. I'm not taking the new baby. I'm not rearranging my life again. I'm done. Melissa's face went pale. What does that mean? It means I'm done being their mother. If you want to have this baby, fine, have the baby, but figure out how to raise it yourself, because I can't keep doing this. What about the kids you already have? Mom asked, and I noticed she didn't correct herself, didn't say the kids you're already watching or helping with. She said have, because even she knew the truth. I don't know, I said. I don't know what happens to them. That's something Melissa needs to figure out. You can't just abandon them, Dad said. I'm not abandoning them. I'm stopping enabling their mother to abandon them over and over while I clean up the mess. So what are you saying? Melissa's voice was shrill now, panicked. You're just going to kick them out, Emma and Jackson and the twins? You're going to put them on the street? Don't do that. Don't make me the villain here. I'm saying you need to be their mother. I'm saying you need to figure out how to take care of the children you already have before you have another one. I can't, she screamed. I can't do it alone. I need help. That's what family is supposed to do. Help. I've been helping for 13 years. I'm not helping anymore. I'm done. I stood up. Mom reached for my arm, but I pulled away. Rachel, please. Think about the children. Think about what you're doing to them. I think about them every single day. I think about them when I wake up and when I go to sleep and every moment in between. I think about what it's doing to them to have a mother who doesn't want them and an aunt who's sacrificing her entire life to fill in the gaps. I think about what it's teaching them about love and family and what they deserve. And I think that maybe the most loving thing I can do is stop pretending this is normal. Stop enabling Melissa to keep having children she won't raise. You're being selfish, Melissa said, her voice breaking. You're being cruel and selfish, and you don't even care about anyone but yourself. You're right, I said. For the first time in 13 years, I'm being selfish. I'm choosing myself. And that's not cruelty, Melissa. That's survival. I left. I drove home with shaking hands, walked into my house where Jackson was watching TV with the twins asleep against him, where Emma was reading in her room, where Noah had built an elaborate fort in the playroom, and I realized I hadn't solved anything. I'd just said it out loud, made it real, and now I had to figure out what came next. Melissa called that night at 11. I didn't answer. She called again at midnight, at 1, at 2. At 3 in the morning, she left a voicemail, drunk or high or both, screaming that I was a bitch and I'd stolen her children and ruined her life, and she was going to make sure everyone knew what kind of person I really was. Mom called at 7 a.m. You need to apologize to your sister. No. Rachel, no, Mom. I'm not apologizing for setting boundaries. I'm not apologizing for telling the truth. She's threatening to call CPS. She says if you won't give the children back, she'll report you for kidnapping. I almost laughed. Almost. She's going to call CPS and tell them what? That I've been providing full-time care for her children for years without any help, while she does nothing? That sounds like a great plan. Don't be smart, she's serious. She's very upset and she's talking about getting the police involved. Let her. Rachel, please, be reasonable. She's pregnant and emotional and she's not thinking clearly. Just apologize. Tell her you'll help with the baby like you always do, and this will all blow over. Like I always do, that's the problem, Mom. I always do, and it never stops. What do you want from her? You want her to grovel? To admit she's a bad mother? What good does that do anyone? I want her to be a mother. That's all I've ever wanted. For her to be a mother to her own children. She's trying. Stop saying she's trying. Trying would mean showing up. Trying would mean putting her children before her boyfriends and her parties and her next pregnancy. Trying would mean being there for parent-teacher conferences and bedtime and when they're sick and scared and asking why she doesn't love them. She doesn't try, Mom. She just keeps having babies and handing them to me. Silence. I raised 2 daughters, Mom said finally. And somehow I ended up with one who can't keep a man and one who can't keep children. I don't know where I went wrong. She hung up. I stood in my kitchen with the phone in my hand, that sentence echoing in my head. One who can't keep a man. As if the problem was my singleness and not the fact that I'd spent 13 years raising someone else's children. As if I'd failed at something instead of sacrificed everything. Jackson found me like that 20 minutes later, still standing, still holding the phone. Aunt Rachel? I looked at him. 13 years old, my first nephew. The baby who'd started all of this. He was taller than me now, all gangly limbs and breaking voice, trying so hard to be grown up because he'd never really been allowed to be a child. Yeah, buddy? Are you sending us back to Mom? So he'd heard. Of course he'd heard. In a house this small with emotions this loud, there were no secrets. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know what happens next. He nodded. He was trying not to cry. It's not because of you, I said. Any of you. You know that, right? You're the best parts of my life. But you don't want us anymore. That's not true. I love you more than anything. But it's too hard. I pulled him into a hug, and he let me, even though 13-year-old boys aren't supposed to want hugs from their aunts. And we stood there in the kitchen while the morning got lighter, and the twins started making noise upstairs, and the day insisted on happening whether we were ready or not. Yeah, I whispered into his hair. It's too hard. Melissa didn't call CPS. She called the police. Tuesday afternoon, I was at work when my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Rachel Morrison? Yes? This is Officer Chen with the Metro Police Department. We need you to come down to the station to answer some questions. My stomach dropped. Questions about what? A report's been filed concerning child welfare. We just need to speak with you. Can you come in today? I left work, drove to the police station with my hands shaking, my mind racing through scenarios, each worse than the last. I kept thinking about the kids, where they were, if they were safe. Jackson was at school, Emma too. The twins were at daycare. Noah was with our parents. Melissa had picked him up over the weekend, and I hadn't fought it because I was too tired to fight anything. The police station was exactly like police stations in movies. Fluorescent lights, uncomfortable chairs, the smell of old coffee and bureaucracy. Officer Chen was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Ms. Morrison, thank you for coming in. This shouldn't take long. We've received a report that you're currently in possession of 5 minors without legal custody. Is that correct? Possession, like they were objects. I'm caring for my nieces and nephews, yes. And you don't have legal custody of these children? No, their mother, my sister, has custody. But the children live with you? Yes. Full time? Yes. For how long? I explained. 13 years, in a police station, condensed into facts and dates and living arrangements. Officer Chen took notes. Another officer joined us, a younger man who looked at me like I might be a criminal or a saint, and he couldn't figure out which. And their mother consents to this arrangement? Officer Chen asked. She asked me to take them, regularly. But there's no legal documentation, no custody agreement? No. And recently there was a dispute between you and your sister regarding continued care of the children? There it was, Melissa's version of events, filtered through whatever story she'd told to make herself the victim. I told her I couldn't continue parenting her children full-time while she has more. She says you're refusing to return her children to her, that you've been keeping them from her against her will, that she's requested they come home multiple times, and you've refused. I almost laughed. Almost. When has she requested that? According to her statement, she's asked several times in recent weeks for the children to be returned, and you've told her no. Is that accurate? No, she's never asked for them back. She's never even asked to see them more than an hour a week. I told her I wouldn't take her new baby. Not that I wouldn't return the children she's already placed with me. Officer Chen exchanged a look with her partner. So you're saying the children are free to return to their mother at any time? If she wants them, yes. If she can actually care for them, which she's proven for 13 years she can't. That's not really for you to determine, is it? The question landed like a slap. I'm sorry. Whether or not their mother can care for them, that's a determination for the courts, for Child Protective Services, not for you as an individual. So I'm supposed to just hand them over, even though I know she won't feed them properly, won't keep them safe, will leave them alone while she goes out, will bring strange men around who might hurt them. If you have concerns about abuse or neglect, you should report them to CPS. What you can't do is make yourself the decision maker about where those children live without legal authority. I've been the decision maker for 13 years. I've been the only adult making sure they're clothed and fed and safe and loved. Where were you then? Where was CPS then? Where was anyone asking whether it was legal for me to be raising someone else's children full-time while their mother did nothing? Ms. Morrison, no, I'm serious. I've been parenting 5 children who aren't mine for years, and nobody cared about the legality of it. Nobody asked if Melissa had signed papers or given permission or followed any kind of official process. But now that I'm asking her to be responsible for them, now it's a legal issue. Officer Chen's expression softened slightly. I understand this is frustrating, but right now we have a mother saying she wants her children back and you're preventing that. That's what we have to address. She doesn't want them back. She wants to punish me for saying no to her. That may be true, but legally she has custody. You don't. So if she's asking for the children to be returned to her, you don't have the right to refuse. The world tilted slightly. So what are you saying? I'm saying you need to return the children to their mother's care. If you have concerns about her ability to parent, you can file a report with CPS and they'll investigate. But you can't withhold her children from her based on your personal judgment. And if I don't, then she can press charges for custodial interference. And depending on the circumstances, that could result in criminal charges against you. Criminal charges. For raising children I'd never wanted to raise in the first place. For sacrificing 13 years of my life to keep them safe. I thought about Emma, who still slept with a nightlight because Melissa used to leave her alone in the dark when she was 3. About Jackson, who'd stopped talking about his mom years ago because the disappointment hurt too much. About the twins, who called me Mama sometimes and didn't even remember living anywhere but my house. When? I asked. When what? When does she want them back? Officer Chen checked her notes. She said she's ready to resume full-time care immediately. She's asked that you bring them to your parents' house tomorrow at 6 p.m. for transfer. Transfer, like they were property, like they were packages being shipped. And if I have concerns about their safety? File a report with CPS. They'll investigate. How long does that take? Investigations vary. Could be a few weeks. could be longer. And in the meantime? In the meantime, the children would be with their legal guardian, their mother. I drove home in a fog, picked up the twins from daycare, and listened to Lily chatter about the picture she'd painted and Aiden's explanation of how magnets work, got Emma from school and heard about the math test she aced. Made dinner while Jackson did homework at the kitchen table, put everyone to bed and read stories and kissed foreheads and pretended everything was fine. At midnight, I sat down at my computer and started documenting everything. Every time Melissa had dropped off the kids, every missed birthday, every forgotten doctor's appointment. Every time I'd called her about a sick child and she hadn't answered. Every man she'd brought around, every move she'd made, every decision that had resulted in me being the stable adult in these children's lives. I had 13 years of text messages, emails, photos of the kids at events Melissa hadn't attended, report cards I'd signed, medical records with my name on the emergency contact line. I had evidence. I called CPS at 8 a.m. and filed a report, gave them everything. The caseworker listened with the kind of professional sympathy that meant she'd heard stories like this before, that mine wasn't even the saddest thing she'd deal with that day. "We'll open an investigation," she said. "Someone will contact your sister within the next few days to schedule a home visit. And the kids? They'll likely remain with their mother during the investigation unless we find evidence of immediate danger." What constitutes immediate danger? Active abuse, severe neglect, drug use in the home, that kind of thing. What about a mother who can't remember to buy groceries, who leaves them with strangers, who's more interested in her new boyfriend than her children's homework? That's concerning, but it's not necessarily grounds for removal. We'd work with the mother on a case plan, provide services and support. She's had 13 years of support. Me. I've been the support. And now you're going to give her more chances while the kids suffer? I understand you're frustrated, Ms. Morrison, but our goal is always family reunification when possible. Unless there's clear evidence that the children are in danger. They are in danger, maybe not physical danger, but emotional danger, psychological danger. What does it do to a kid to be with a mother who doesn't want them, who makes them feel like they're in the way of her real life? Those are questions for a family therapist, not Child Protective Services. I hung up. At 5:30, I started getting the kids ready. They knew something was wrong. Kids always know. Emma found me in my bedroom while I was packing her things into the small suitcase she'd brought when she first came to live with me 3 years ago. She'd been 7 then, small and scared and clinging to a stuffed rabbit she'd had since she was a baby. "We're going to Mom's?" she asked. "For a while." "Why?" "Because she asked for you to come home." Emma sat on my bed, pulled her knees to her chest. "I don't want to go." "I know. Can't we just stay here, with you?" "It's not up to me, sweetheart. But you're our mom. You're more our mom than she is. I'm your aunt. You're the one who takes care of us." I sat next to her, put my arm around her small shoulders. She leaned into me and I felt her shaking, trying not to cry. "I love you," I said. "That doesn't change, no matter where you live or who you're with. I love you, and I always will." "Then why are you sending us away?" "I'm not sending you away. Your mom wants you with her." "No, she doesn't. She just doesn't want you to have us." The clarity of children. The way they can see straight through adult bullshit to the truth underneath. We got in the car. All 5 of them. Jackson in front, silent and angry. Emma and Noah in the middle row, scared. The twins in back, too young to understand, but picking up on the tension, getting fussy. I drove to my parents' house. It was 6 p.m. exactly when I pulled into the driveway. Melissa's car was already there. So was another car I didn't recognize. Marcus's, I guessed. Mom opened the door before we could knock. She looked tired, older than she had just a few days ago. "Come in," she said quietly. Melissa was in the living room, standing next to a man with tattoo sleeves and a man bun. Marcus, presumably. He looked uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure what he was doing there. Dad was on the couch, watching the scene unfold with the same passive expression he'd had my entire life, the same inability to engage with difficult emotions that had taught me early on that I was on my own when it came to handling hard things. Melissa's eyes were red. She'd been crying or pretending to cry. With her, it was hard to tell. "Babies," she said, opening her arms. The twins ran to her. They were 3. They didn't understand betrayal yet. Emma stayed pressed against my side. Jackson stood apart, his jaw clenched. Noah looked at me like I might have answers, might be able to fix this. "Come here," Melissa said to Emma. "Come give Mommy a hug." Emma didn't move. "Emma," Mom said gently, "go say hi to your mother. I don't want to." Melissa's face crumpled. See what you've done? You've turned them against me. My own children don't even want to hug me because you've poisoned them." "I haven't poisoned anyone," I said. "They feel how they feel." "Jackson," Melissa turned to him. "Baby, come here." Jackson crossed his arms. "No." "Jackson, please. I'm your mother." "You're not my mother. You're the person who gave birth to me. Rachel's my mother." "Don't say that." "Why? It's true. She's the one who's been here. She's the one who gives a shit about us." "Language," Dad barked. "It's okay for Mom to abandon us, but I can't say shit?" Jackson's voice was rising. "That's what you care about? My language?" "Nobody abandoned anyone," Mom tried. "Your mother has been doing her best." "Her best is crap," Jackson said. "Her best is showing up once a week and pretending she cares. Her best is having more kids she won't raise. Her best is letting Aunt Rachel do everything while she takes credit." Melissa was full-on crying now. Marcus put a hand on her shoulder, trying to comfort her, but he looked lost, like he'd walked into a situation he didn't understand and didn't want to be part of. "I think everyone needs to calm down," Mom said. "This isn't helping." "What would help?" I asked. "Everyone pretending this is normal? Everyone acting like Melissa having 6 kids she can't parent is fine as long as I shut up and take care of them?" "You're not taking care of them anymore," Melissa said, her voice suddenly sharp, the tears gone. "You're done, remember? You said you were done, so give them to me and leave." "You don't have anywhere for them to live," I said. "Your apartment is a 1-bedroom. We're moving. Marcus and I found a place, 3 bedrooms. We'll make it work." "When are you moving?" "Next week." "So where are they staying until then?" "Here," Mom said. "They'll stay with us until Melissa gets settled." I looked at my mother, at the woman who'd somehow convinced herself that this was normal, that her daughter having 6 children by 4 different fathers and never parenting any of them was just a rough patch, just bad luck, just something we all needed to support. "You'll take them?" I said flatly. "Of course, we're family." "And Melissa? She'll be here every day. She'll be parenting them." "Like she has been?" "Rachel, that's enough." "Is it? When is it enough, Mom? When Melissa has 7 kids? 8? When do we stop pretending this is okay?" "It's okay because we make it okay," Mom said. "Because we help each other. Because that's what family does." I looked at my nephews and nieces, at Emma, who wouldn't look at Melissa, at Jackson, who was trying so hard not to fall apart, at Noah, confused, at the twins, innocent. "I need you to be safe," I said to them. "I need you to call me if anything happens, if you're not okay. If you need help, can you do that?" Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. Jackson clenched his jaw harder. Noah whispered yes. "We'll be fine," Melissa said. "They're my children. I can take care of them." "Then take care of them," I said. "Actually show up. Be present. Be their mother." I kissed each of them, told them I loved them, walked out before I could change my mind, before I could scoop them up and run and damn the legal consequences. I drove home to my empty house. Sat in the silence that I'd been longing for years, the silence I'd imagined would feel like relief. It felt like grief. The first 3 days were the worst. I'd wake up at 5:30 out of habit, start making breakfast before I remembered there was no one to feed. I'd come home from work and the house would be dark and still, no homework to help with, no dinner to make, no stories to read. I'd spent 13 years complaining about having no time to myself, and now I had nothing but time. Jackson texted me the first night, "This sucks." Emma sent a photo of the room she was sharing with Sophia at our parents' house. 3 beds, crammed into a space meant for 1. The twins were sleeping on a fold-out couch. Mom visited for 2 hours, Jackson wrote the second day, left before dinner. "Marcus is weird," from Noah. "He keeps trying to talk to me about cars. I wanted to rescue them. Wanted to show up at my parents' house and take them home where they belonged. But Officer Chen's words kept echoing. You don't have legal authority." On day 4, I got a call from Emma's school. She'd had a panic attack during class. They couldn't reach Melissa, so they'd called the emergency contact on file. Me. I picked her up. She clung to me in the car, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. I can't do this, she gasped. I can't be there. I can't be with Mom. Please, Aunt Rachel, please let me come home. I took her home. My home. Our home. Made her tea and held her while she cried and told her it was going to be okay, even though I didn't know if it would be. Melissa called an hour later, screaming, "You took her. You can't. Just take her from school." The school called me. She had a panic attack. She was fine. She's being dramatic because you've spoiled her. Bring her back right now or I'm calling the police again. Call them, I said. Call them and explain why your daughter had a panic attack at school. Explain why you weren't available when they tried to reach you. Explain why she begged me not to take her back to you. You're turning her against me? I'm not doing anything except being here when she needs someone, which is more than you've ever done. I hung up. 2 hours later, Officer Chen called. Ms. Morrison, we have another complaint from your sister. I picked my niece up from school because she was having a medical emergency and her mother wasn't available. She says you're refusing to return the child. I looked at Emma, who was asleep on my couch, exhausted from crying. She can have her daughter back when she comes to get her herself, not when she sends the police, when she actually shows up and acts like a mother. That's not, I know it's not my decision. I know I don't have legal authority. But I also know that little girl is traumatized from being forced to live with a mother who doesn't want her. So Melissa can come get her, herself, in person, and look her daughter in the eye and tell her she wants her. Silence on the other end. I'll let her know, Officer Chen said finally, and hung up. Melissa didn't come that night, or the next day, or the day after that. The CPS investigator called to schedule a home visit. I gave her everything I documented. She took notes with the same professional sympathy, the same suggestion that this was concerning but not enough. Has there been any physical abuse? She asked. No. Extreme neglect? Lack of food? Unsafe living conditions? She leaves them alone. She brings men around they don't know. She forgets to pick them up from school. But they're fed. They have shelter. When I'm providing it, yes, I'll make notes of your concerns, she said, which was what people said when they were going to do nothing. A week passed. Emma stayed with me. Jackson started coming over after school, not asking permission, just showing up. Then Noah. The twins couldn't choose. They were 3. But my parents brought them for visits that lasted longer and longer until they were basically living with me again, with brief visits to Grandma's house for sleeping. We fell back into our rhythm. Homework and dinner and bedtime routines. The life we'd built together. Melissa posted on Facebook about what a hard time she was having, how her family didn't support her, how people judged her for being a young mother. Her friends commented with heart emojis and messages of support. No one asked about her children. Marcus broke up with her 2 weeks later. The 3-bedroom apartment fell through. She called me at 2 a.m., drunk, crying. I can't do this, she sobbed. I can't do this alone. I need help. Rachel, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please help me. I listened to her cry. Listened to her beg. Listened to her promise she'd do better, be better, that this time would be different. What about the baby? I asked. What? The baby you're pregnant with, the 7th one. What are you going to do about that baby? Silence. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know, Rachel. I'm so scared. I don't know how to do this. I can't do it for you anymore. I know. I can't raise this baby. I know. So what are you going to do? I don't know. We sat in silence, connected by phone across the city, 2 sisters who'd somehow ended up here. The kids can stay with me, I said finally, but we're doing this legally this time. Custody papers, official guardianship. I'm not doing this anymore without legal protection. Okay. And you get help. Real help. Therapy, parenting classes, whatever it takes. And you show up. For visits, for birthdays, for the times when they need you to be their mother, even if I'm doing the day-to-day. Okay. And the baby, I'm not keeping it, she said quietly. I can't have another baby I can't take care of. I'm going to figure something out. Adoption maybe, I don't know, but I can't keep it. It was the most honest thing she'd said in 13 years. The custody papers took 3 months to finalize. Melissa signed everything without fighting. She showed up to court looking small and scared, and when the judge asked if she understood she was giving up primary custody of her 5 children, she just nodded. I'm not a good mother, she said, so quietly the judge asked her to repeat herself. I'm not a good mother, but my sister is, and they deserve better than me. The judge granted me legal guardianship. All 5 kids, official, binding, permanent. Emma cried with relief. Jackson hugged me for the first time in months. The twins didn't understand the significance, but they knew something had changed. Something had become solid. Melissa started therapy, real therapy, 3 times a week, with a woman who specialized in trauma and self-destructive patterns. She visited the kids twice a month, scheduled visits where she'd take them for ice cream or to the park. She didn't try to parent them. She just tried to be present, to be someone they could slowly learn to trust. She terminated the pregnancy at 14 weeks. She told me in my kitchen one Tuesday afternoon, sitting at the table where her children did homework. I couldn't do it, she said. I couldn't bring another person into this world that I couldn't take care of. It felt like maybe for once I could make a responsible choice. I'm glad, I said. Are you? Yeah, I am. She started crying. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry for everything, for all the years, for all the times I should have been there and wasn't, for making you give up your life. I didn't give up my life, I just lived a different one than I planned. Are you happy? I thought about that. About Emma's A on her science project, about Jackson making the basketball team, about Noah finally sleeping through the night, about the twins learning to read, about the life I'd built that I'd never chosen but couldn't imagine not having. Yeah, I said, I think I am. I think I'm actually happy. 2 years later, my parents sold their house and moved to Arizona. They'd never really wanted to be full-time grandparents, had only done it because Melissa was their daughter and they felt obligated. Without that obligation, they were free to have the retirement they'd planned. They visited twice a year, sent cards on birthdays, called on holidays. I didn't miss them the way I thought I might. Melissa got a job at a dental office, filing insurance claims and answering phones. She got her own apartment, a studio that was clean and quiet, and had photos of her children on the walls. She dated occasionally but casually. No more declarations of love after 2 weeks. No more men moving in after a month. She came to dinner every Sunday. Sometimes she helped cook. Usually she just sat at the table and talked to the kids about their week, asked about school and friends and the small details of their lives. She wasn't a mother in the way I was, but she was becoming something, an aunt maybe, or just someone who cared, who showed up, who tried. Jackson graduated middle school, made the honor roll, talked about college like it was a real possibility. Emma started volunteering at an animal shelter, brought home stories about the dogs she was helping socialize. Noah joined the chess club. The twins started kindergarten. I was 37 years old. I had 5 kids who called me Aunt Rachel, but introduced me to their friends as their mom. I had a life I'd never planned and never would have chosen, but it was mine. It was ours. I still thought sometimes about the person I might have been, the one who traveled, who had a career instead of a job, who dated and fell in love and made choices based on what she wanted instead of what children needed. But I thought about her less and less. Emma found me in the kitchen one Sunday afternoon, making lasagna while she did homework at the table. Aunt Rachel? Yeah? At school, they're having this thing for Mother's Day. We're supposed to make cards and write about our moms. Okay. Can I write mine about you? I turned from the stove. She was looking at me with those serious 10-year-old, no, 12-year-old now, eyes, waiting. What about your mom? She's my mom, but you're the one who's here. The one who does all the mom stuff. I want to write about you. Then write about me? You're sure? I'm sure. She smiled, went back to her homework. I went back to making lasagna. And I thought about the judge's question 2 years ago. Did I understand what I was taking on? I did. I understood all of it. The sacrifice and the exhaustion and the years of putting myself second. But I also understood that love wasn't always a choice you made consciously. Sometimes it just happened to you. Sometimes you looked up one day and realized you'd built a life you never planned and couldn't imagine losing. Sometimes the story you got wasn't the one you wanted, but it was the one you had. And maybe that was enough.